What up, Doc?
What up? What up?
You seen that Larry Elder, Charlemagne the God shit they had
Yes,
going on Breakfast Club?
yes, sir. Actually had me kind of fired up.
For sure. Let's get it. Let's
Yep.
get it. Hold on. Let me click it.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
As I said, it's because in the mid 60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. In Charlemagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this,
Mm-hmm.
advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government. Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data, 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia. A young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home married to the mother than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Elder?
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with
But
us.
Okay. I when I seen that, I was finna go crazy, bro. Like I wanted to slap the shit out that dude, man. I wanted to slap the shit out of Charlemagne. Why is Larry Elder talking about black people and how we need to hold ourselves accountable? And then the first thing this nigga say is, "Well, what about white people?" Like, I don't understand this whole like. I be thinking sometimes like, I don't believe in conspiracies, but I be thinking like sometimes these niggas. These niggas is like plugs, bro. Like they go so hard against self accountability that it don't make no sense. It makes none, bro. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you. I don't get it, Kay.
Look, the problem, one of the major problems, and we'll touch on some of the other ones that Larry Elder pointed out. One of the major problems in the black community is we've decided that we need to be a victim, or we want to be a victim, and by hell or high water, we're going to be a victim. And every time it's pointed out areas that we can take responsibility for ourselves, that we can figure out where we can step it up and start to change some of the direction of our culture. Somebody pulls us right back down into being a victim. And how can we pull ourselves up when there's so much against us, and there's this white man who is perfect and does everything right, and is going against us, is the one that's holding us back. So it's like, I think what part of it, and Larry Elder touched on it, was welfare. I mean, we created this victimhood because we are telling ourselves that we need some sort of assistance. We need some sort of leniency to become successful. But what it did is it put us into a position where we don't even want to get out of it. We want to stay on welfare. We want to be a victim now. We want to hold on to that victimhood because it absolves us from any responsibility. So yeah, it's a shame actually that after Larry Elder spits out all of these, a few minor facts about what caused this, and how, not necessarily how we can change it, but really, what caused it, he goes into, what white people did wrong. I don't even know what that had to do with what Larry Elder was telling him. So yes,
Yeah,
it's fascinating to me.
yeah. Nah, this shit is fascinating, but one of the things that is really fascinating to me, and I was just thinking about this shit the other day, is it's a part of our culture of being raised by women, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying anything negative about women. I'm just saying, as a woman, your main mechanism of defense when it comes to violence is guilt and shame, right? It's like, oh, hey, you're gonna hurt me. I'm a victim. It becomes like a defense mechanism. Like guilt and shame becomes a mental warfare for women,
Yeah.
right? It's like, hey, if I can get in his mind and make him think bad about himself, then I can survive maybe, any type of potential violence, right? But as a man, we don't have that. Like, we don't have that defense mechanism of shame and guilt. Our defense mechanism is you got to put your shit up. You got to put your hands up. You got to pull your gun. You got to use your sword. Because as a man, we don't have sympathy for other men because they're not smaller than us. They're not weaker than us. They are equal to us. And so whatever comes your way is what you're going to get. You can't mentally trick me out of having sympathy or compassion for you. But women do. And so because our community is led by women, you see a lot of men now who try to use that same tactic of, oh yeah, I can, if I'm a victim, then I should have some type of reward for it. And it shocks me when I see men using victimhood as some type of badge of honor. It's bizarre, bro. It's like, well, I got hurt and my people did this and you were victims. And it's like, bro, you lost. You're a loser. That's what that means. You don't get to use victimhood as a badge of winning. No, bro, that means you lost.
Right.
Like, this shit is crazy, bro.
We're losing. We're losing competitive nature, and it doesn't even have to be that we're competing against another culture. We're just losing the will and the drive to compete. And what's really like the kicker in this, Charlemagne, by all accounts, is a successful cat, right? Like, I don't know his money, I don't know him like that, but I would say he's a fairly successful to probably, well-to-do person in this country. So if there's, all of these things against us, how did he get to where he is? How do all of these athletes, entertainers, and all of these people who are telling us that we can't do things because there's something holding us back, how were you able to get to where you are, to become the kind of success that you are, but the rest of us somehow are being drugged down by this invisible force that's keeping us from taking it to that next level? That's another thing that I've never been able to understand. You hear completely like people that are overly successful, like generationally wealthy, talking about the racism, the things that are keeping Black people down. Were you some sort of exception? Were you some sort of like oddity that sprung up out of this and other people aren't able to do what you're able to do? And if so, how come you're not sharing what you were able to do with the rest of us so that we can somehow, use your formula to get there as well? So it is, man. But I've never really looked at it in the way you just, broke it down, that we're using these deflection tactics to get away from taking that responsibility on ourselves. But we talked about also, there's so many single parent homes, there's so many single women raising kids, raising young men that, okay, let's say you don't go to jail. Let's say you are able to, become somewhat successful. We're taking on this sort of, deflection mode of, let me deflect that shame and guilt onto you so that I can get out of, having to fight for whatever I need to do. And it's pretty bad, man. It's getting worse. I don't know where we're going to go.
Yeah, this shit is crazy, bro. It's absolutely crazy. And it's just kind of what Larry Elder's kind of talking about this whole time is, black men not raising their children, not being in the home on a daily basis to raise their kids is really having a huge negative effect on our community. And people are just kind of watching it happen and not even really taking pause to step back and go, oh, wait a minute. We really need to fix this. But I know why that happens. I'll share my thoughts on why this is happening. But let's finish this up, and then we'll kind of get back to it.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever?
Well,
had
I'm acutely aware, Charlemagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like
Well,
that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about
it.
a nigger wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney, because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, no, for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know what
trash.
you are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, but you are black.
Absolutely.
And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
I did.
As I said to him in that moment, it's just about me wanting something for my people, and I want to know what is he going to do for my people, and not only for my people now, how are you going to atone for the things you've done to my people?
Right.
That's it.
Right. And this is a guy, Joe Biden, who, when he first got into the Senate, hung out with segregationists, talked about how well he got along with them, talked about how he didn't want integration because of a jungle. This guy has made all sorts of insulting things to black people, and his policies right now are hurting black people. Inflation hurts the people at the bottom more than anything else. Letting a bunch of illegal aliens into the border are hurting black people more than anybody else, as I said earlier. He opposes school choice when he has his own kids in private school, and we lost a year, almost 2 years of in-school education in California because of COVID that he supported. I mean, this guy has done monstrous things to black people, and then for him to come in here and tell you how you ought to think as a black person, it blew my mind.
As a person objectively who doesn't care about either party.
Whew.
Yeah, bruh. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't listened to Charlemagne a whole lot, but I know people who are on the radio consistently have a whole lot to say. At that point, it looked like Charlemagne had very little to say because of the way that Larry Elder broke that down for him. I don't think that there's a valid answer to that from anybody's lips. It was very clear that what Larry Elder was telling him gave him zero argument to return back to that. And I just got to add a few things. So he called talking about Joe Biden. He said that Obama was clean cut and straight and narrow. And that's storybook, man. Like people always that. I don't know how and why that gets swept under the rug. But to imply that there's no clean, educated, smart black people out there, and that is a storybook dream type of thing for you to have that, just to add on to it. Larry did mention about him not doing anything, us getting anything in return for our vote. We talked about that on the show. We get absolutely nothing in return for our vote. And like I said on the show a few weeks back, introducing the crime bill. There's no atonement for that. There's no you know what, that was a bad mistake on my part. We shouldn't have done that. I realize that we've mass incarcerated, thousands, tens of thousands, I don't even know what the number is of black fathers. And now that's contributing to the statistics that Larry Elder was also spitting about us not having the ability to have two-parent homes, raising kids with two-parent homes. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. I was taking a couple of notes. I think that might have been all I wrote down just now, but there's zero defensiveness. There's no way to say, I heard that statement, and here's why I'm okay with that, or to just kind of dismiss it like, yeah, no, that was okay. I mean, I heard him, but I didn't really take too much offense to it. How could you not? Like, how could you really allow that and not take offense to that? So, I don't know. I'm a little at loss after that, but
Yeah. No, I hope that was a nigga wake up call for Charlemagne, because like at the end of the day, you had a white dude come on there and tell you, hey, if you don't vote for Democrat, if you don't vote for me and the Democrats, you ain't black. Like, bro, that has to be a wake up call for you, especially for Larry Elder to put it back in your face. Like, bro, you didn't even say anything. You just said, hey, okay. Like at the end of the day, like when he said, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, bro, you should be saying, man, I'm not a Democrat.
mm-hmm,
Period.
mm-hmm,
Period. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not voting Democrat. Period. Like for you to not say that you are against the Democratic Party is some bullshit to me. It shows me that you took that. You ate
right,
what Biden said, and you're still gonna vote for him anyway.
yeah,
That's all that says. When you tell me, oh, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, nigga, after that, you should be saying, nigga, I ain't no fucking Democrat. Fuck that dude. He thinks I'm gonna vote for him after that. Fuck that dude. I'm not gonna vote for him just out of spite. Just
just
on GP.
right.
Yeah, just on GP, I ain't voting for him.
But
Fuck that
that,
asshole.
that should have happened when at the time that Joe Biden said it, at the time
Right,
that
right.
those words that were uttered out of his mouth on his show, on his platform, he
Yeah,
accepted that, gave it a pass, and had absolutely no retort to it. Like that. That's where the issue really lay. With Larry Elder pointing that out to him. I mean, he already knew that. Larry Elder pointed
hmm
out something that he was clearly aware of and has, I'm sure, struggled with to some level personally, because they're in order to be in that circle, you got to stay with that group. You got to be able to stay in the group of people who probably watch his show are
yeah,
all in that circle. So um, you can't steer too far from it, because if you
right.
steer too far from it, you're gonna lose your base. So
Yeah,
he's doing his own politicking by
yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, I didn't really take it that way. Like, what way did you take it then? Like,
right.
how else can you take that? Like,
Yeah,
let's just say, even if um, there was some sort of something in return for that vote, he still shouldn't be talking to you like that. Like, there's still
yeah,
certain levels of respect and like understanding and just decorum in how you have a conversation with somebody. You don't get to make
yeah,
that statement to anybody on any level, because you don't own somebody's vote, or you don't own somebody's will in that fashion. So yeah, man, that was I'm glad that Larry Elder had a chance to expose him like that. I don't really, care to expose Charlemagne, but I'm just glad that he was able to just expose the general sense of that feeling, so that people can start to wake up. That nigga
yeah,
wake up call that needs to happen.
yeah. No, I'm glad that Charlemagne asked him that question and got the response that he got, because basically Joe Biden told Charlemagne, um, or what,
Right,
right? Like Charlemagne said, well, I need to see, this and that and this and that, and we want to see this and that. And Joe Biden basically told him, or what?
right.
Or what, nigga? You ain't gonna do nothing.
Nope.
What are you gonna do? You gonna vote Republican? Nah, you ain't gonna do that. Your answer when you just said I'm not Democrat or Republican just told us you ain't gonna vote Republican.
Right.
So you're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna hold me accountable in any way. I get tired of when I hear Democrats say, "Oh, we're gonna hold these politicians accountable." No, you're not. Shut
No.
up. You're not gonna vote. You're not gonna vote Republican. That's the only way to hold them accountable. You can't. There's nothing else you can do to hold them accountable but vote for the other party. That's it.
Mhm.
That's the only way to hold them accountable. There's no other way.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to continue to give them your vote, and they're going to continue to give you nothing. They're going to continue to use you like a puppet, like a pawn, and you'll get nothing. And so it's just, it's crazy to see how so entrenched in ideology that some people get, that they can't even see what's right in front of their nose. Literally, Larry Elder just showed him, bro. You, you're not getting anything for your vote. Your vote is literally worthless because it has no value.
Zero value.
The Republicans don't want to give you anything because they know you're not going to vote for them. The Democrats don't want to give you anything because they know you are going to vote for them. So this is right in front of your face, Charlemagne. And he still said, well, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. It's like, wait, what, bro? What? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Shit crazy, man. This shit is crazy.
And the other thing, all right, go ahead.
Charlemagne is worth 10 mil. I just looked it up.
Ooh.
So yeah, so kind of like you were saying, he worth 10 mil. So
how come he can't hit us with the magic sauce that allows him to pull his black self out of poverty? And if he's keeping it real in some way where he's not having a nigga wake up call by using his black skin to realize that he's not being exposed by somebody in an event that lets him know that he's really black. Like, if you didn't have that, and then we don't need that, then please tell me how we get to the spot that you're at. And that actually ties into what I wanted to talk about from Larry Elder. And I talked about this a little bit on the last time we chatted. Part of the reason that I moved away from the Democratic Party was Larry Elder. Like, growing up in LA, he had a radio talk show early in the mornings, sometimes in the afternoons when they keep the time up. So a lot of the logic that I heard come out of his mouth had me thinking. And there were three things I remember he used to talk about. If you want to be successful, don't get married or before you're, I think, 30. Don't have kids before you're 30. And what was the other one? Oh, and get a high school diploma. Like, and those three things aren't incredibly hard. Like, if you want to live a pretty, like straight, not straight and narrow, but like not extremely difficult, always going through rough time, do those three things. If you keep that debt of having a kid out of your life, if you don't get married before you're 30 and you get a high school diploma, you at least are giving yourself an opportunity. You're at least giving yourself an opportunity. Like, all those other things you're piling on and putting yourself at a deficit. I personally put myself at a deficit. My first kid was born when I was 20. Like, I made it difficult on me, made it difficult on him, made it difficult on the people around me. But there was a lot of sacrifices that had to be made. When you think about the simple logic of that, where, okay, I'm gonna find a lady, but hey, let's hold tight. Let's figure out what we're gonna do. Let's go travel. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Okay, now let's settle down. I got my job. Let's get my career going. All right, now I'm gonna have a baby because I'm bringing this child into a stable environment, and he's gonna have a 2-parent home because we've spent some time together, and we know that this is a grouping that we want to have, and that we're going to continue to stay together. We're not going to get divorced. We're not going to have this kid raised in a single parent home. Like, all of these things that the Black community can do to better ourselves are not very difficult. They're actually quite simple. When you think about it, a high school diploma, like, I'm not trying to like demean a person who doesn't have it, but it's not a very difficult thing to do. No. Wait till you're 30 to have a kid. That's not hard to do. And get married after you're 30. Like, those are things that we can do without, like, I'm not trying to be an astrophysicist. I'm not trying to be a neurosurgeon. All I got to do is the simple things in life to give myself the best chance. So, it just puts a lot of this stuff in perspective, and the things that he, started to talk about were where I started to stray away and understand, like, man, that vote's getting me nothing. We're continuing down a cycle of giving them the vote, and like you said, just getting absolutely nothing in return. But we're so bought in that we continue to do it, and we continue to do it. And like, at this point, 2023, 2024, like, how can we continue to be in that same boat and get absolutely zero back? Like, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, no, we have no leverage. We have no leverage. Our vote has no leverage at all. And, I think more than anything else, like, if I was Larry Elder or any of these other dudes in the black community that are running for president. I think Tim Scott is running for
Mhm.
president too. My main call to black people is your vote has no leverage. Your vote has no leverage right now.
Yeah.
So, you can continue to throw your vote away and not get anything for it, or you could actually do something about it. And so, I wouldn't talk about, I would definitely talk about, fatherless homes in the black community, but I would always lead with, at this point, your vote got no leverage, bro.
Yeah.
So, you know, you you think they're gonna give you something for it? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Show
you
me.
get,
Prove
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Show
yeah.
me what
You
you
got,
got.
yeah. You've been giving it away for 60 years and ain't got nothing. So
Nothing.
that should tell you right there. Your vote has no leverage, zero. But
I want to leave you with a couple. These are people, really, not you. Leave the people with some things. I know some people are going to check out Larry Elder and get turned off by him and feel like he's Uncle Tom, and they're gonna play the race card on him.
yeah,
Check out a cat by the name of Thomas Sowell. He's an
yeah,
economist, author, probably about in his 90s at this point. Been talking about these type of statistics for a good 50, 60 years now. And if you look at some of his old YouTube videos, you read some of his books. If you can't get the logic out of that, then I can't help you. Like there's clearly some sort of disconnect, or you are purposefully going against logic. If you can read a Thomas Sowell book, listen to some of his lectures, and listen to his debates with some other people, like you're just going against the grain just to do it. But
yeah.
for those of you who feel like Larry Elder is just too much for you, check out Thomas Sowell. Check out another cat by the name of Walter E. Williams, another economist, author. Like they break it all down into a simple way for you to understand. They use statistics, they use facts that I know can be difficult to understand at times, but there's no debating these facts and these statistics. Check them out, and I can guarantee you start to open up and understand what's going on out here.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Thomas Sowell is a genius. Dude is brilliant. One of the things that I learned from Thomas Sowell, one of the greatest pieces of information that he ever shared, that I use in my daily life every day. He said, "There's no trade off. There's no solutions in life, only trade offs."
Right.
And to me, that was one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard in my life. It changed my perspective on life.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, you're not gonna solve the problem,
No.
but you just have to trade it for something that you can live with.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always going to be a counter to every solution. There's always going to be one. And so, as you make decisions in life, you have to make decisions understanding that decisions you make in life, they might be good for you, but that decision may be bad for somebody else.
Yeah.
I was thinking about just like self-defense, right? Like, people always think like, oh, hey, this is good. Self-defense is good. Yeah, self-defense is good for you, but like, if you got a gun and you shoot and kill somebody in self-defense, it wasn't good for the dude who just got shot and killed.
Right.
Self-defense wasn't good for him. So you just have to understand that life is always trade-offs. You might save your life in self-defense, but you also took a life in self-defense, so you got to live with that too. So yeah, it'll just change your perspective on life in general. If a dude is brilliant.
Yeah.
I want to go back to one thing that I said. There's a reason why, like, a lot of these Charlemagne the gods and also just people in the black community in itself, why we don't take personal accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And if we took personal accountability and we went back to the man, woman, and child model, then a lot of women who want to be empowered feel like they would have to take a step back, feel like they can no longer have the voice that they want to have because now they're actually aligned with a man who's actually leading. And in our community, since a lot of our households are are led by women, that could be a scary, daunting ideology, right? Because most people meet men, or I'm sorry, most women nowadays meet men that can't lead.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, and it's because a lot of these boys were raised without fathers, so they don't really know how to lead. They haven't been around men who know how to lead, and so it's understandable that women would have, a negative reaction to having to give up control of their families, of their household, because a lot of the men nowadays that they meet don't know how to lead. And so when we start talking about that self accountability, we start talking about fatherless homes, then we get that pushback. Like, oh no, that can't be it. That's not it. Well, yeah, it's not it because you don't want it to be it. Because
Mm-hmm.
if that was it, then you'd have to realize, oh, okay, I got to find a man that I feel like can lead me. And if most of your experiences with men have been with men who can lead, then you don't want to accept that reality. Which, you know, I understand, but at the end of the day, we can't let that stop us from actually being productive and actually coming together and actually moving forward.
Yeah.
You know?
It is funny, man, that kind of came full circle to go back to the welfare state and what Larry Elder was saying, that they were actually going door to door, letting women know
Mm-hmm.
that you no longer need a man, or requiring you to not have a man in the household to get this money, to become dependent on the state. And so
Yeah.
so many people become dependent on the state that it completely changed the culture of how our women are raised and how they're raising their daughters, because some of them
Mm-hmm.
have daughters, right? So their daughters are
Yeah.
coming in thinking, I got to be super strong. Oh, my mom was a single mom, she did it all, so now I got to be a singer, I got to do it all, and I got to have a job, and I got to provide, I got to be the provider, the protector, and all of these different things. And it becomes a cycle in our community.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it also, like you said, it takes away that leadership role in the man, and then we're not taking on that leadership role, and we don't have a true leader either. Like, that's one of the ones I wanted to have a discussion about. Maybe next week we talk about Black leaders. We don't
Yeah.
have the true Black leader anymore that we can look up to, like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, and be like, okay, there's a leader that I can look up to and watch and see its strength and see leadership and see the type of poise and the things that I need to be able to lead my family, to be able to lead this man, woman, child, sort of relationship. And without having it at the home, without having it out, just in our entertainment or whatever you want to call it, like, there's nothing for us to model it. There's nothing for us to look at and be like, yes, that's the strength. That's the leadership that I'm looking for, that I can follow. And that person is holding me accountable to be that type of person as well. Like, that, whoever that figure is, that leader needs to hold us accountable. And we're missing a
Yeah.
lot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I trip that brought it back full circle like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Hey, I wanted to, before we get up out of here, I wanted to show you this video that Jason Whitlock, which, if people don't like Larry Elder, they ain't gonna like Jason Whitlock. We pulling out all full stop right now. We just pulling them out.
Trigger
But
warning.
trigger
Trigger warning.
warning.
Beginning of the
Yeah.
video.
But I just thought, I agree with a lot of the things that Jason Whitlock said. Some of the stuff I don't. But I agree with this video that he put out. Let me pull it up, and then tell me, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
In this country should have to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass in order to be a citizen of this country. And the reason is, I think young people do not value a country that they simply passively inherit.
Totally agree with Vivek here. I'd go a step further. We need to reinstitute the draft. Everybody needs to ante up. That's the problem. People haven't anteed up. That's what's weakening the country. My father's generation, the generations before that, that had to serve in the military or had to take some type of job that was very, very difficult in order for their survival. That's anteing up. We need to go back to men serving in the military for a minimum of 2 years. And if women want to vote and exercise all this dominion, we need to figure out a way for them to ante up as well.
Yeah, I
But
didn't
you
see that earlier.
you said what, Kay?
I didn't see that earlier. That's some good stuff.
Yeah. What you think about that?
So first thing, one, we have lost the pride in our country. There's so many people that are being raised to feel like they are embarrassed or feel some sort of shame about the United States. So that's part of why there's nobody really, anteing up lately. And the part that I'm not necessarily against what he's saying, but this is where I would digress, or not digress, but I would stray away from what he's saying. Our leaders have not used our military in a way that it should be. So when he's talking about those previous generations, World War I, World War II, we didn't jump into those wars the way we jump into stuff now. You think about World War I, World War II, they went on for years before we even touched them. When Pearl Harbor got bombed, we still hadn't even like full on jumped into that war yet. Like it took us a second to really, figure it all out and make the decision that we were going to go to war. Right now, we are at the drop of a hat. We got people who are ready to send our military to Ukraine. We got people who are ready to send our military all over the country, and we don't even have a true reason to go and fight. So installing a draft, while I would be for it if I knew that the responsibility of our leaders and how we send our these men that would be in the draft to any sort of conflict, if that was done with some level of responsibility, I'd be all for that, because we would only put our people in danger if it was utterly necessary. At this stage, we aren't putting them in sort of conflicts when it's necessary. We're putting them in conflicts because we have some sort of a political agenda, and we've got some sort of there's all these other reasons that we're doing this. I mean, you can even go back to Iraq. Like, now that everything, the dust is settled, and we look back at that, we should never even done that. So you got all of these people who have been maimed, casualties, not necessarily deaths, but you can include deaths too. But like all of these types of injuries that have come home. I got 3 sons. Like, I wouldn't want them in our military only because of the way that we have been irresponsible with what we've done with our military. Now, let's go back to that generation, like you said, when it was, World War I, World War II, where we're very careful about how we take steps into going into conflicts. I'd be all for it. I'd do my 2 years with a cape on, like ready to go. And I wouldn't have any problem with my sons doing it. But I think there's an irresponsibility these days on how our military is being used. But the pride and the things that we need to bring back for America, I 120% agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm gonna address Vivek first. I also agree with Vivek that everybody who votes should have to take a test. And I don't think that because voting is a right, I don't think that if you don't pass the test, you don't get to vote. I don't think that. I just believe that everybody should be given a test of all the stuff that people who come over here and migrate here and become citizens, everybody here should be passing that test. And we should take that test before we vote. And then you should get a score. And then that score will let you know, hey, do you know what's going on, or are you a clown? And basically, it should shame people into learning more about our country, learning more about voting, learning more about the candidates. Even though you still get to vote regardless of your score, if you got a bad score, we should be shaming people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you idiot. You over here, putting the country at risk because you don't know shit.
Yep.
second part about that is I agree with Jason Whitlock, and I think the country should make every man 18 and over serve 2 years in the military. I think most men would really benefit from serving 2 years in the military, especially the boys nowadays who don't have any structure in their lives. And the reason I say that is because, yes, I do have that same concern that our so-called leaders in the United States don't use our military with discretion like they should. But I think if everyone's child had skin in the game, then people wouldn't be voting like they do now. They wouldn't be voting recklessly on people who are war crazy or war hunger or are part of the military industrial complex. People would be like, nah, tell us about how you handling the military first. Because I got skin in the game. So tell us about that first. And then we'll figure out if we want to vote for you or not. Because I think because nobody is in the military nowadays, except for the people who need the money, except for a lot of the poorest of our society, who before they went into the military didn't really vote anyway. I think because of that, we elect people who are very reckless when it comes to the use of our military and the use of our military aid and stuff like that. So I think if people had skin in the game and had to go, especially every man had to serve, which that's one of my biggest regrets. Like, I feel like I wasted a lot of time and I could have been in the military. Shit, I could have been a fucking fighter pilot, okay? That's how I feel. I feel like, God damn it, I missed the opportunity to become a motherfucking fighter pilot. For real.
I've been telling people that a lot lately. Like, I regret. That's a regret of mine too. Like, I wish I would have jumped in and did something. Like, it's just, man. I look back and think about it, and I regret that, and I'll express that to people as of late. But
it's one of my only regrets in life, bro. I should have went to the fucking military. I should have went to the Air Force or the Navy or something. Probably not the Navy, because I don't want to be able to vote that much.
That's a hell of a point, though, is that would create some more accountability for how we use our military. If everybody was in and everybody has skin in the game like that, the first question to any politician would be, what's going to happen with the military? So now that's a good point. That's a good point, man.
Yeah, for sure. Shit. That's it, man.
I see my boy Miles is ready. I already know. His skin is crawling. His blood's boiling. He's about to have an aneurysm. We got to do a check. Oh man.
You ain't even got your camera on, nigga. What you talking about? Let me. Your motherfucking camera ain't even on. Flip your motherfucking camera around, nigga.
Niggas, this is what you're supposed to be, Goose and Maverick or something.
Nigga,
here, huh?
I'm Maverick.
Is that it?
I'm Iceman, nigga.
Niggas wanted to go into the service, huh?
I should have.
This revisionist shit is my favorite. This is like my favorite activity with y'all niggas now.
General. I would have been a 5-star general right now.
I know. Tradie. All that shit was wide open in 1996. Niggas couldn't have paid you to go to the service.
I know, that's the regret.
Yeah, that's the craziest part about it. That's the craziest part about it. Yeah, and guess what? And guess
we should have a volunteer military.
Hold on. In 1996,
citizen soldier. That whole thing.
Hold on. In 1996, you wasn't hitting white bras either, though. Yeah, I got a point there, right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, that's a point right there. Flip your camera around, man. What are you just hold 9x16 shit? Damn.
Oh.
Thank you. Welcome to 2023, Miles Johnson. God damn.
So listen, hitting white, me coming into my own manhood of socking white, goodness.
Yeah.
So how does that have to do with compulsory military service? I might be. I'm not that bright. You gotta enlighten me.
Well,
on this.
here's the analogy that I was using. It's basically, we were raised a certain way. We were raised a certain way, and we didn't really understand the opportunities that were ahead of us. And even the culture dictated how we moved. So as 17 and 18-year-olds, we came up with an idea that we should do this and we shouldn't do that. We should do this, we shouldn't do that. Going to the military, we shouldn't do. Having white girlfriends, having sex with white women, we shouldn't do that. But as we all know, once we got into college,
that's not all of us.
Yeah, things.
Yeah, this nigga, you nigga speaking French and shit. I don't know what this we shit
changed.
is. So I don't know about y'all. I'm come from a military family and all that kind of shit. Generations served and all that. Like there was nothing about that I wasn't familiar with or didn't know the benefits of. I got the selective service shit when, 2 months before graduation, y'all got the same brochures in the mail I was getting, I'm sure, right?
Right.
Come fucking be all you can be, and we do more before 5 a.m. and all that shit. Like, what was?
Got it.
I don't understand. What was y'all in the dark about?
Well, no, I'm saying I was raised that you don't go to the military. The military ain't for black men. The military is killing black men. The military, the country don't love you. You shouldn't go fight for the country. I was under all that assumption,
that was good advice.
And the generation before me, didn't go to the military, but 2 and 3 generations before me did. So I didn't.
Wait, the generation before you didn't go to the military?
Nah, my dad, and
who was all them niggas in Vietnam? What generation was that?
My dad didn't go to the military. I'm talking about my generation.
So your dad's a generation.
My dad's a generation before me.
That's semi our dads. Like my dad during Vietnam was just 18, so like it wasn't really like kind of that age, but.
He just happened not to go then, because a lot of niggas at 18 was getting sent to Vietnam.
Right.
I don't know which version of history. That generation sent tens of thousands of black men to war.
Right. I think
where we were, it wasn't. I don't know hardly anybody in even around our circle of people, like my dad and their friends. Like none of them that I knew were in the military.
Yeah, the only generation.
You should get out more.
No,
you should get out a lot more. There's no shortage of.
That's the point.
There's no shortage of black men that
that's
the point. There was a shortage. It was just our circle, the people who we knew didn't have that.
But that has nothing to do with the generation. That's just your circle.
Okay, that's fair.
That generation of black men went to Vietnam.
Look,
my uncle Lefty left his brain and half his fucking arm in Vietnam.
Look,
that's the same generation.
Look, all I'm saying is the generation before me and my family was against going to war in the military. So that's all I knew. Yeah. Your Uncle Lefty and all the dudes who went, I never met them. Never had any conversations with them. So I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything.
It's immaterial whether you met them or not. They were there.
I think what I'm telling you is I'm not disputing that they were there. All I'm telling you is I didn't have any contact with any men before me who went to Vietnam in the war. All I heard my whole life, my whole childhood, was black men don't go to it. The country don't love you. The military ain't for you. That's all I heard.
Well, that wouldn't have changed. That wouldn't have changed if you had contact with those niggas.
So
they'd have told you exactly that, and they'd have been speaking from a place of knowledge.
Okay, that's fine. I think
they'd have been experts in the subject.
But I think what I'm telling you is I was influenced before I could even make my own decision, as I was with women of other races. Same thing. I was influenced before I could make up my own mind. All right. So why?
Yeah, but your meat guides you in a way that army brochures don't.
No, it didn't. Hey. It didn't guide me there till I was hardly a man. All right. I was already a man by the time it guided me there. All right. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, that's a blessing. Now you had your grown man script to let off in it.
No, that was tens of years of wasted opportunity. All right.
Feeling the sultry night air.
Yeah,
nigga.
that was
Deep thrust.
that was
Heavy breath.
yeah, no, that wasn't for me. All right. That was bad information. And I should have been able to make up my own mind on both of those. Now, had I been able to make up my mind on both of those, I probably would have went to the military, and I probably would have been socking, way before I did.
Copious amounts of pure-driven snow, huh? So let me ask you this: those are two examples of shit you was talked into. But did you not do everything that the old folks told you not to do?
Hey,
all the shit they told you you shouldn't do, you just abstained from all that too, right?
Hold up.
No.
Or are we picking two things right here?
I gotta roll out, man. Y'all be cool.
All right, okay.
I'm gonna check this shit.
Y'all be cool,
post
man.
it up.